Hi students, in this video we are going to continue our discussion about anti-logarithm. Now we will solve problem related to that. If log x to the base 10 is equal to 0.861, find x. Now we will get into the problem. Here given is log x to the base 10 is equal to 0.861. As you know very well, this value is called as characteristics. We must check whether it is non-negative or negative in anti-log concept. Here it is a non-negative value, and you know that 0.861 is the mantissa of logarithm. This value has been found in logarithmic table. So we write this in the form of anti-logarithm. So we get x is equal to anti-log of 0.861 to the base 10. You know this is characteristics. This 0.861 is a mantissa. Since mantissa is taken from the logarithmic table, this mantissa only will be used to find anti-log table value. So we have to look for the row in which we have 0.86. So and then we have to find out the column in which we have 1. So if meeting point of these two is 7261, here after this we need to find out how many numbers must be in integral part. In other words, we should know where to place the decimal point so that this x value satisfies this condition. We already learnt one formula for that. The formula is when characteristics of the logarithm is non-negative. Here characteristics is non-negative. So when characteristic is non-negative, number of digits in the integral part should be equal to 1 plus characteristics of the log. Here characteristics of the log is 0. If you add with 1, we get 1. So number of digits in the integral part should be 1. So we must place the decimal point after 7 so that the number of digit in the integral part is 1. I repeated, number of digits, not value. Number of digits in the integral part is 1. So now we can verify it. If we take, this is an x value, right? So log of 7.261 base 10 means without considering the decimal point, we must look at the logarithmic table. That logarithmic table will give us the mantissa. That value is 0.861. We have to calculate manually this characteristics. The formula is characteristics of log of a number greater than 1. Here the value is greater than 1. Number of digits in the integral part minus 1. Here number of digits in the integral part is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Hence it satisfies the question. This is the correct answer. X value is 7.261. I told you that when characteristics is non-negative, the number of digits in the integral part should be equal to 1 plus characteristic of the log. How this formula has been derived, I will tell you now. You just look at the formula that we learnt in characteristics of log. Characteristics of a log of a number greater than 1 is equal to number of digits in the integral part minus 1. I am just rewriting this. We want number of digits in the integral part. This minus 1 can be transferred to opposite side. So it becomes 1 plus 1. So characteristics of a log of a number greater than 1 plus this plus 1. So number of digits in the integral part is equal to 1 plus characteristics of the log. This is how we derived this formula. What happens when the characteristics is negative? That is what we are going to see now. When the characteristics is negative, we have to calculate number of zeros in the number immediately after the decimal point. Number of zeros in the final answer immediately after the decimal point is equal to characteristics of the log divided by minus 1, and then the final resultant value should be subtracted by 1. So here we have to apply Bode-Mosul. First we will simplify this. After that only we will subtract minus 1. How this formula has been derived is from this formula. Characteristics of the log of a positive number less than 1, which is equal to minus of number of zeros in the number immediately after the decimal point plus 1. So what we do is this minus sign has been transferred to the opposite side. It will go as a denominator. Here we can consider it as minus 1. So when it goes that side, it becomes minus 1. And then this plus 1 will go that side, it will become minus 1. When we see some examples, we will understand this concept clearly. We already learned that this 0.861, the value is antilog of this 0.861 is this 7261. Based on this only we have written. In case we are asked to find out antilog of 1.861 means we will consider only this 0.861 mantissa. 0.861 is 7261. After that we need to find out number of digits in the decimal point, because here the characteristics value is non-negative. So non-negative means we will apply this formula. Number of digits in the integral part is equal to characteristics of the log and then plus 1. Here characteristic of the log is 1. We are adding 1 along with it, so we get 2. So number of digits in the decimal part, integral part is 2, 7 and 2. So there are 2 digits. Similarly, if we are asked to find out antilog of 2.861 to the base 10 means we will look at the antilog table for the value of 0.861. That comes out to be 7261. After that we need to find out the number of digits in the decimal point, because number of digits in the integer part. Here the characteristics is non-negative 2. Hence, as per the formula, when the characteristics is non-negative, number of digits in the integral part is characteristics of the log plus 1. Here characteristics of the log is 2, plus 1 means 3. So now we must place the decimal point here so that we get 3 digits in the integral part. Now we will move on to the next question. If we are asked to find out antilog of 3.861 to the base 10 means we will look at the antilog table for this 0.861. This value will come like this. After that we need to find out number of digits in the integral part. For that we must consider characteristics. Here characteristics is non-negative number. When we have non-negative number as a characteristic, our formula is number of digits in the integral part is equal to value of the characteristics plus 1. Here value of the characteristics is 3, plus 1 means 4. So number of digits in the integral part must be 4. You just check it. So we put point here and then 0. So you understand this. Similarly, antilog of 4.861. 0.861 value we got it as 87261. Here characteristics is non-negative number. When characteristics is non-negative number, our formula is number of digits in the integral part is equal to value of the characteristics plus 1. Here value of the characteristics is plus 4 and then plus 1 means 5. So we must have 5 digits. Actually we got in the antilog table only 4 digits, but we must have 5 digits in the integral part, so we added another 1 0. I hope if you look at this you are very thorough with that. Now we will move on to the negative values. Now suppose we are asked to find out antilog of 1 bar dot 861 means we will look at antilog table value for this 0.861, and then here the characteristics value is negative. When characteristics is negative means number of zeros in the number immediately after the decimal point should be equal to characteristics of the log divided by minus 1, and then final result should be subtracted by 1. Here characteristics of the log is minus 1 divided by minus 1 means it becomes plus 1. Plus 1 minus 1 means 0. So the number of zeros in the number immediately after the decimal point should be no numbers, so no zeros. So after the decimal point we do not have any zeros. We have written 7261. When we move on to these examples you will get clear idea about it. Here again we need to calculate antilog of 2 bar dot 861. We will use this 0.861 to find out this Antilog table value, and then here now we need to look for this characteristics is negative. When the characteristics is negative, we need to calculate number of zeros in the number immediately after the decimal point is given by characteristics of the log divided by -1. Here characteristics of the log is -2. -2 divided by -1 means it becomes +2. +2, 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So number of zeros in the number immediately after the decimal point is 1. So immediately after the decimal point is here. Immediately after the decimal point, number of zeros is only 1 0. Hence we put 1 0. Now when we move on to this, you know that for 0.861 we calculated anti-log table. Then we need to look at this characteristics. When the characteristics is non-negative, number of zeros after the decimal point, immediately after the decimal point, is given by characteristics of the log divided by -1. Here characteristics of the log is -3. -3 divided by -1 means 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. So number of zeros immediately after the decimal point must be 2 zeros. So here decimal point is there. Immediately after that decimal point we must put 2 zeros and then this 7261. I hope you understand this if you go through it. Thank you students. Thanks for your cooperation. If you understand all these concepts, we can use all these concepts in solving approximation problems. Thank you students. Thanks for your cooperation.